Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Dr. Amethyst Mahoney. She's a tarot mentor, author, and now she helps business owners use the power of tarot to simplify their business and attract new clients daily. Welcome to the show, Amethyst.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form. Dr. Amethyst, and I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll be talking about how tarot can help in business growth. In that backdrop, we'll have our conversation. But before that, let's understand a bit about your background, your journey, so that the audience learns more about who they are listening to.
Yeah, because tarot for business growth, it's kind of an out there topic, right? I mean, a lot of people are like, what are you doing? Because some people think you use tarot cards to predict the future or other things like that. I actually used to be a psychologist. I was a psychologist for 13 years. That's why you're referring to me as doctor. I have a PhD and two master's degrees, and I always wanted to help people. And I therapy, I get a lot of flack about therapy. I There's a lot of people who work in the field and have worked in the field over the years who are kind of like, what are we doing with all of this therapy? If you've been in the field and you've been to, dozens of conferences, you've met thousands of therapists around the world, everybody's kind of been saying the same thing over the years is, why aren't my clients getting better and staying better? What is going on? And so everybody believes, that's the answer. The next conference you go to, the next technique you learn, the next whatever it is, that is what's going to make things stick. And with, all the work I had done, I was like, this is just not working. My clients would get better for a while, and then of course something would come up and they'd regress. And that's kind of been the way everybody who's been in the field of therapy views things. And so they're always trying to improve it and everything. So I had been reading tarot cards since I was 12 years old. And I actually developed a technique. It was kind of similar to art therapy, but I started using that with my clients. And I was getting phenomenal results, and much better than anything I had tried before. CBT, EMDR, DBT wasn't even around at that time, but even people have left that to go back to what's called CBT. And of course, I'm throwing out acronyms because I'm used to them, but cognitive behavioral therapy and all of those kinds of things. But the majority of people back then did talk therapy. And the majority of people still to this day only do talk therapy. And that is like the golden standard of the psychology world. The problem with talk therapy is that if you have trauma, CPTSD, which is about to be put into probably the DSM-5 TR, which is the psychological manual, they're rooting for it right now. But even if you have PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, talking about it is supposed to, the theory was it would get it up and out of your system. And actually what it does is it reinforces the neurological pathways that are causing all of your issues. So if you have anxiety, you have depression, you have PTSD, you have OCD or ADHD, just talking about what's going on can actually make it worse. And we know that today for sure. There's tons of studies about that and everything. That's not saying all therapy doesn't work. I'm not saying that. But talk therapy being like the number one thing is horrible for a lot of people with trauma. It can trigger you. It can re-traumatize you. It can actually make your symptoms worse. And so what I do is I help people dig into the subconscious with the tarot cards, looking at the images. I taught a ton of my colleagues how to do it. They were getting great results with their clients. And eventually I was just like, this works better. I'm just going to go do this. This is so much nicer.
Right. So much nicer. So I want to understand. See, with someone who has a PhD, two master's degree, you know, psychologist, And then when you compare that with tarot card,
Yes.
means your own mind will have many questions to yourself.
I know, right? I do. I get
So
a lot of tarot.
I want to understand again, to decide, did you use tarot card to make the decision, or did your mind or all understanding help you take this decision?
Both. I consult my tarot cards for everything. My husband and I have used it over the years to help figure out which job to take, which state to move to, which home to buy. Recently, the biggest decision, besides he took a new job, was which company to use to get our roof redone, because we had a tornado and we needed a new roof. And so, yes, we do use it for that. But the way that I look at viewing tarot is, who was it? I think it was Socrates that said, know thyself. And that is really at the heart of what it is. Because as you read the tarot cards and as you look at the pictures and start talking about the images, what you're doing is you're actually projecting everything that's inside of you onto that card. And so once you start talking about that, and then you take a step back and say, how does that apply to my life? Everything about you has just been revealed. And it's amazing and surprising every single time that I walk people through the technique. I recently spoke, it was last year, on the GCRR Psychology Conference, the Global Center for Religious Research, about using tarot as therapy. And I was vetted very hard. They were like, this is crazy, we're not doing this. And I walked them through the technique, and they were like, that's amazing, you have to be on the conference. And so it really is about, have you ever looked at gone with someone, right? And you both look at a great piece of artwork, right? Like Starry Nights or whatever it is, some kind of picture. And you talk about what you see in the picture, and they talk about what they see in the picture, and it could be two completely different things. But what that is it's digging into your subconscious, and it's helping you to see and understand what's most important that's going on in your life at that moment.
Absolutely. So let's understand the common myths around, about tarot, so that, we understand it. Because as a common person, I just know tarot cards, that people look into them and try to understand a few things. But
Right.
how much to go for that means, I do not have any misunderstanding about it, but I do not have a full understanding about it. So help us understand about the common myths.
Well, some of the common myths, if especially in the United States and other countries, and I know too, especially Islamic countries, I get a lot of flack because people will say the cards are evil, they're opening a demon portal, it's of the devil, all of these things that people have just made up over the years. It's a picture. It's not going to hurt you. It's a picture on a card, right? So if you look at this card, and you could just, I know I've got a glare, I'm sorry, here it goes. So this is one of
Right.
the cards, it's the Nine of Pentacles. So when you look at this card, what do you see in this card?
There's a lady. She has got something in her hand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it's a garden sort of a thing.
Yeah. And so if you were thinking about that right now in your life, how would this card apply to your life?
It's showing greenery, a lot of greenery around. It's happiness.
Yeah. And so what I would ask if we were in a tarot therapy session, or if we were using this even for your business, is, does that apply to your life? Do you really feel happy in this moment, or do you feel like that's missing? Do you feel like you need to go do something to get that happiness? Do you need to go to a garden? Do you need to spend more time in nature in order to bring that into being able to feel more fulfilled in what you're doing professionally, and to also make sure that you're, what the kids are calling touching grass now, right? Making sure that you're grounded, you're centered, you doing something spiritually and really to nourish yourself and your body.
Right. So wouldn't want that sort of a thing? Even a person who is not seeing that picture, seeing even any other picture, even on a
Mm-hmm.
desktop, some sort of a theme or something, even on a mobile phone, even on your anywhere else, if you see a picture like that, you will certainly want to have more of that thing. Even if you are, having a lot of greenery around you, you would want more of that, because that's much more, fascinating. So who wouldn't want that? So what's the difference between a tarot card coming with that particular thing and a
Mhm.
person normally seeing that in the same life? Their wishes, their desires, their, understanding about themselves remains the same. Help us understand the difference between the two, Amethyst.
Well, the difference is that I use the cards specifically and on purpose. So, yes, you could go look at any picture and, you know, do this at any point, but do you make time for it? And that really is the thing. It's a very um, focused exercise where you take a few minutes a day and you can ask the cards like, what do I need more of in my life now, right now? Or you could ask business questions like, what do I need to prepare for, in my business today? What should I talk about on my interview that I'm doing? What would help me simplify my systems, or where might I find new clients? And the thing is, the card isn't necessarily predicting the future for you, right? It's helping you tap into the picture so that you can look into yourself and realize the answers that you usually already know, but it helps you focus on them. And you could do this with any kind of images. The reason I use tarot cards specifically is because I've been doing this for decades and I have never come across a problem, a situation, a challenge, or anything that a person is dealing with that is not represented in the 78 cards. So if you're just looking at some random picture or a random image or something like that, you don't have as good of an opportunity to get to the actual issue that's going on, because you're not going to have the full set of images.
Okay, okay. Dr. Amethyst, let me ask you then, what is the difference between tarot card and those psychometric tests that a lot of people have, especially in the armed forces and all? Some of the other places, I guess, they have this sort of a test, because they also show you certain images and they ask you to randomly or immediately tell exactly what your thought is by seeing that particular thing. How is it different? Is it the same thing?
It is different. I was trained in the Rorschach ink blocks, right? And so that was really interesting. The apple tree, the draw your house kind of things when I did more training around art therapy. The difference is they are looking for patterns. So when you do, say, the ink block test, and they say, what do you see in this picture? They're not just looking at that one picture, they're looking at how you are looking at the whole picture. So there's one ink block where it's like, if you say that little part of it looks like an alligator, but the whole part overall looks like whatever it looks like, right? The one thing I really don't like about the ink block test is that the guy who made it tried to over sexualize all of the images. So it's
Right.
actually leading you into a particular direction and then looking for some kind of like malfeasance in that. It's kind of shady. I'm not a fan. But they're looking for overall patterns. So when you get to the end of it, you have to look at all of them, and then they look at, okay, what did you answer about parts to each one, or did you look at the whole picture? Did you have a lot of answers for this picture? Did you only answer one picture at each time? And then what were the overall themes? And then they extrapolate what's going on from that. With my method, I walk you through those processes, I address that with you, and I teach people to do that for themselves so that you don't have to have someone else kind of judging your answers. Right? And sometimes I've seen some interpretations where it's like, yeah, it's kind of reaching. But what we want to do with the tarot cards is we want to tackle very specific problems that you are having right now, especially in your business. So we're not looking for overall mental health diagnoses or cognition, functioning and impairment and things like that. I'm relating it directly back to your life and something concrete and real world and actionable that you can take steps on today. So if you're like, I'm not making $10,000 a month in my business yet, we're not going to sit there and look at how you function cognitively and how you look at things overall. We're going to be like, okay, what are the actual problems? What's keeping you from talking to clients? What's keeping you from setting up the sales pages and doing the things that you need to do? And let's figure out, I always do 3 action steps, very specific things that you can do immediately or within the next week to move yourself forward. And so in that way, it's completely different than psychology, because we're really getting into the groundwork and the nitty-gritty of it.
Absolutely. There's much to learn from you about using tarot for business, including your 5-figure framework, and also
Yes.
from your book. So tell us a bit about your 5-figure framework, and also you have written several books, including Tarot Empowered Business System, and also a series. So tell us a bit about that.
Well, I have a couple of my books right here. Here's a couple that I've written. I have the 50 places your clients are coming out or hiding in plain sight in January. I'm re-editing that one right now. It's written, but I'm very excited and proud about the body of work I've created. This is the Tarot Empowered Business System, and this one does include the 5-figure framework inside it. And that is really to help you figure out what are the things that you can put in place most quickly. Because I am a big fan of building your business, especially organically at first, not throwing a bunch of money at ads, not setting up really expensive systems, not doing basically what everybody tells you to do. But I reached my first multiple 6 figures a year with doing live streams and speaking and having a Facebook group. that was it. And I did have a website, but I didn't have sales pages. Mostly it was like, give me money, and here's what we can do to work with one another. And I've taught a lot of people over the years to set up systems and things in place, like a schedule on how you can just connect with people, tell them what you can do to help them, and then take their payment and go, instead of spending a year or two setting up your funnel, setting up all of your emails, setting up all of that stuff. I would rather see people make money. And so I actually meet with people. I help them create what I call high ticket offers. But a lot of my clients aren't ready for high ticket. So high ticket for them is a 6-week course or a 6-week coaching package, or six readings, 6 massages, something like that they can do in about 6 weeks. And it's $600. And that is high ticket for where they're starting. Now, I know in general that's not high ticket. The psychology of high ticket buyers changes at the $2,000 mark, and we can go into all that. But what you want to do is have something specific that you can make money with. And I have clients who leave talking to me. We use tarot cards to figure out exactly what it is they can offer. Within the next day, they have 2-3 new clients. Whereas before, they were struggling for months, sometimes a couple of years. And it just doesn't take that long.
Absolutely. Who doesn't want money? Everyone will want money. And a lot of people will want to connect with you, learn more from you, about your 5-figure framework, learn from your books. What's the best way for them to connect with you?
So I do have a website. It's called amethystmahoney.com. It's just my name.com. And I have on there's a freebie for the 5-figure framework, the outline. So the actual link is amethystmahoney.com/5-figure-framework. But if you just go to the front page and check the freebies, it will give you the overview of the framework that I talk about in my book.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can certainly talk a lot about money. Your name itself, your surname itself has money in it. Just remove AH. It can make a lot of money.
It's money.
It's a wrap on this. Yes. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.